air bomb scare. After Vistara and Air India Express, now 5 Indigo receives bomb threats. So this is the information that we are getting now, that once again there is a bomb scare that is doing the rounds around for about 5 such flights. Indian Express, now 5 Indigo flights have also received the bomb threat as far as the Indian Airlines are concerned. This is happening on a daily basis now. Every other day there is such menace that is going on. And in fact, I'm joined by my colleague Yash. In fact, we'll go to my colleague Yash on ground. But right now, these are the information that we are getting at this point, that there has not been any end to the mid-air bomb scare. Remember, just 2 days back, there were 10 such bomb scare threats that were received as far as Air India is concerned, and due to which there was in fact delays and emergency landing as well. All this is of course going to cause a lot of inconvenience when it comes to the passengers. And right now what we are learning is that the DGCA has also initiated an entire investigation into the matter to figure out what exactly has happened, what exactly are these bomb threats all about. Let me now go across to my colleague Yash. Yash, once again the threats have come, and this time around 5 Indigo flights have received the bomb threat. Give us more details.
Well, yes, Sherin, and it's not just 5 Indigo flights, but 5 Akasa airline flights have also received this very threat. In fact, this is what we are learning via sources within Akasa airline, and in fact we are still awaiting for an official confirmation on those 5 flights, exactly what flights they are, and in fact on what route they are actually flying. But the Indigo flights are actually confirmed, and in fact the number of flights, there are 5 flights from each, 5 from Indigo and 5 from Akasa. In fact, I have the numbers also for the Indigo flights. This is 6E11, subsequently goes like this: 17, 58, 108 and 184. And in fact, we have received an official communication also from Indigo about this, and in fact they put out a statement talking about this very thing. But looking at the modus operandi, Sherin, in fact this has been happening from the last 1 week now. And we have in fact lost the count, in fact, how many airlines till now have received this very bomb threats. In fact, most of them, all of them were deemed hoax. And in fact, this time around also, we are expecting them to be hoax, because the modus operandi is quite similar, that how these flights receive these threats via social media, and in fact, unverified social media accounts.
Yash, also tell us about the investigation that has in fact been initiated by the DGCA. What really have they, information that they are getting at this point? Who is really behind such a series of bomb threats? Because this is very similar to the school bomb threats, the Hoax bomb threats that were received in the schools as well in the national capital. And now we are seeing that it has shifted to the airlines in the national capital.
Yes, Sherin. In fact, that time it was around 300 schools which had actually received those bomb threats simultaneously. And in fact, this is the record. Any such organization receiving, or any perhaps schools or any establishments actually receiving those bomb threats. And now, like you rightly mentioned, in a similar fashion and a similar way, they're trying to target airlines this time around. In fact, Sherin, like you mentioned, who is behind all of this, like Mumbai police had made an arrest in this very matter, arresting a 17-year-old in this very case. In fact, you can see how teenagers were actually involved in such stupid acts, because this is actually causing a lot of menace. In fact, the statement, or perhaps the version which that kid had given, he said he had done this to actually take back on his friend, and that is why he had made all those hoax emails to those airlines. So it's very tough for the agencies as well to reach at the bottom of this, but definitely some sort of a more scrutinized way of dealing with these bomb threats needs to be actually derived. And like you rightly mentioned, DGCA and in fact the Ministry of Civil Aviation is in a huddle regarding this very situation, because it's not just about these flights being diverted. It also involves a lot of money in this case, because Sherin, how the entire operation gets hit, and then it turns actually cost airlines also, because if something like this is happening, airlines have to actually provide refreshments to the customers or the flyers. In fact, in some cases they even have to provide accommodations. So you can understand the kind of brunt the airlines are also facing, and nevertheless the consumer is always at the receiving end of all these acts which played out in stupidity by I don't know whom. But as of now, the investigation is on, and perhaps in some time we will know how exactly DGCA comes up with a framework to deal or tackle this situation.
Yes, if we just take the incident of today itself, we have received, I think, in the morning, it was the Vistara flight from Delhi to London, which received the bomb threat. And now you are saying that Akasa Airlines has also received, and then Indigo Airlines. So if you could specify today itself, how many such flights have received such bomb threats in last 24 hours?
See, if we talk about today, post 12 in the night, the confirmed number as of now is of 10 flights of 5 each of Indigo and 5 of Akasa in this very case. And in fact, there was a flight which had actually also received a bomb threat yesterday, late night, perhaps after 12. The number is somewhere around 11 to 12 flights which have been affected today only. And in fact, if we go by in the 24 hours number, the number is much more, because yesterday also we have seen how 3 flights had actually received this very threat call. So the number is something very worrying, but the more worrying sign is there is no stoppage to this very menace, because there was an arrest made by the authorities, and now perhaps someone else is now also playing cards. Sherin, one very important thing also here to note is that you cannot negate the fact that you cannot ignore these threat calls, because hundreds of lives are at stake, and in fact that is why those SOPs are followed, and in turn all this actually inconvenience which is being borne by both the airlines and also by the passengers in these very cases.
Absolutely. All protocols need to be followed, because the security of the passenger is of utmost importance. But Yash, also tell us about what are the measures that has been taken by these airlines today as far as their passengers are concerned. Has there in fact been some emergency landing or some alternative accommodation that has been made? What are you learning? And also, has there in fact been an official statement that has come from Indigo, Akasa or Vistara for that matter?
Well, yes, Indigo has actually shared an official statement regarding its 3 flights which have received such threat. And in fact, like you mentioned also, and I talked about it, how there are standard procedures which need to be followed. In fact, one flight had made an emergency landing at the Indira Gandhi International Airport as well today. But as of now, what we are learning is that in all probable, these all are hoax call yet again. And in fact, similar kind of a joke has been played once again with these airlines. And yes, the passengers are being accommodated by the airlines, is what Indigo has to say. We are still awaiting an official confirmation in exactly what flights of Akasa airline in particular have been actually affected. But one thing is for sure, that a lot of inconvenience is actually being borne by the flyers in this matter, and also a lot of this chunk of problem is also bared by the airlines.
Yash, also just talk us through that in last 1 week, like you mentioned that in last 1 week there has in fact been multiple such bomb threats that has come when it comes to these flights. But tell us about how, how many such threats have happened, and what is really the MH, because the MHA has also now sought a report from the DGCA just 2 days back. So how far has the investigation reached?
Well, the investigation is underway, and probably in some time from now, the DGCA will be actually submitting that very report to the MHA, because this is a matter which actually needs a fast-tracked approach, because we understand, Sherin, this everything what happens on the ground doesn't translate into actually what actually goes behind those closed doors where these decisions are made. So what happens is, in these situations, the captain makes the very first move regarding this very thing. And in fact, the airlines continue to say that if they receive something like this, some threat like this, they have to follow the standard operating procedures which are still laid down by the ministries and by the government. So they want that if you want that the airlines need to follow an alternative approach to these kind of hoax calls, you need to actually lay down those norms for us, and then we will in turn follow those norms. And in fact, you're talking about how many such flights, Sherin, you name the airline carrier, you name the carrier, and that has been affected, from Air India to Air India Express, from Vistara, Indigo, SpiceJet, Alliance India. Every airline has actually received these sorts of threat calls, and in fact threat messages, and it's not just the domestic flights which have been affected. International flights have also taken a hit. For example, today only there are 2 flights which were bound to Istanbul of the Indigo, which had received this threat call. So the entire domestic traffic also gets affected by this, and also international traffic. And mind you, one very major thing to look in this situation is how this thing plays out internationally, because in case you are receiving so many threat calls and there is a sense of panic amongst the consumer in the international market, that definitely sends a very wrong message.
Yes, I'll request you to stay with us as I'm joined by former Wing Commander Mr. Praful Bakshi. Sir, how do you see such bomb threats that have been coming, not just a matter of a few days, it's been happening for a week altogether, and it is causing inconvenience because of the emergency landing or the delay, the alternative facilities that has been made for the passengers. All this, of course, is causing a lot of problem to the passengers. How do you see this happening on a daily basis?
Don't have any such methodologies to stop them. So they are doing it will. And that's what they want to do, because they want to disrupt our economy. They want to get our stand face down into the world. People stop coming. People stop traveling to India. India is declared unsafe. All those things. That is a set pattern by a group of countries or a country which who don't like our progress. Because economically we are making such progress, we are impinging on their territories, because that is what the India's progress is all about, and that is what they are doing. But they are also taking the angle of, they may take the angle of political-religious angles, they may bring Khalistanis in it, they may bring radical Islam in it. We have to investigate, and investigation the standard has to increase. We may have to involve Indian Army and Indian Air Force, their signal services, how to monitor them, and their intelligence services. This is going to be a national exercise, and let it not be, somebody saying that, so these people should be punished by not allowing them to fly for 1 year, or some childish punishment like that. This has to be ultimate punishment to be given. Some countries even treat this as death sentence. So I would like to tell you that I'm not, just telling you for the saying's sake. It has to be taken very seriously, because our economy is affected. The health of the people, the mental health of our passengers, it is getting affected. You can imagine the scare the people are having in the aircraft. Now they don't want to travel. Soon it will start on trains. You will hear about the threats on trains too. They are already started disrupting trains. They are already started derailing. That is already going on. So where is the problem? Now we don't want to raise the ante and something serious to happen. I think our intelligence agencies and security agency and sit down on a national level and draw out a plan as to what to do about it. It is not enough to be left to one single agency and hope like hell some police agency to look into it. That will be only a foolhardy action to take place.
Absolutely. It seems that it is time for the government and all the agencies to come together and come up with a mechanism to avoid such menace. Thank you, Mr. Bakshi, for joining us and getting things